After the information revealed today, I think it's almost certain at this point that David is going to get arrested soon. It's just a matter of time at this point. Let's start off where we left off last in our last video before we get to these new details that are pretty crazy. So last week, TMZ revealed that a grand jury was going to convene to figure out whether or not police can start calling witnesses to a grand jury so they could get people to start talking under oath, opposed to just hoping people will talk to them. They can now start legally pulling in witnesses they believe is involved or have information and make them legally talk.
The Celeste Rivas homicide investigation has taken a big turn. There is now a grand jury that has convened to try and dig up information that could lead to an arrest.
Yeah, the LA County District Attorney's Office presenting evidence to this grand jury, presenting the evidence they have at this point. And the grand jury, what we've heard is that the grand jury has been convened for several days in mid-November. What we don't know, because grand juries are all done with good reason in secrecy, so we don't know if they are done at this point.
They may still, my guess is they're still going.
I'm guessing they're still
let me kind of explain the way this works. This is an investigative grand jury. And the reason that they convene these is because the police can call somebody that they want to interview, and a lot of people clam up. They say, I'm not going to talk to you. They're afraid of incriminating themselves or other people. And it's very difficult sometimes for police to talk to people who are involved to get information. So the reason for a grand jury is that they can subpoena people and require them to testify. The only way somebody cannot testify is to use their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. But if there's no Fifth Amendment, they have to testify. So the police use the grand jury as an investigative tool to get things that they could not easily get.
I think even the non-answers would be clues. Like if somebody who's been around David, who you suspect but can't really prove it, that they were involved in moving Celeste's body, they were involved in moving the Tesla, they were involved in purchasing certain chemicals that were going to be used to get rid of Celeste's body, and you just have a hunch in your gut, man, this person was around David every day. They involved somehow, but you just don't know how to prove it. And they come in front of that grand jury and they say, "I plead the fifth." Now you know. Now you can start connecting the dots to figure out your circle of David's co-conspirators if he's involved in this. All right, which I think is very important, because if you listen to the private investigator, he spoke on a couple disturbing things that kind of point to, there was a ring hair assisting David. He spoke to, there's somebody who moved the Tesla. Like, they have a positive idea on somebody who moved the Tesla and parked it, and it sat there until ultimately it was towed and Celeste's body was found in the Tesla. That means that person moved that Tesla with Celeste's body in it? Then you know who did it, right? Well, that person needs to come to the grand jury, and that person needs to be interviewed and talked to, because that person knows information about why exactly he was moving that Tesla and why was Celeste's body in that Tesla. They have information. So far, they're under no legal pressure. They're under no mandate to come and talk to the police. But when it's grand jury convened, they have to come now. Or even when chemicals was discovered in the house, chemicals that were going to be used to get rid of Celeste's body, like chemicals that have really no other purpose but to get rid of dead bodies or to dissolve bodies. Well, I'm sure David didn't purchase those chemicals himself. I'm sure David didn't go to the store and purchase those chemicals.
You mean that there might be evidence that a crime was committed at that house?
Not so much a crime, no. And I'll just be honest with you. We don't have any evidence that anything happened to Celeste at that house, but there's definitely evidence that we've collected that helps the timeline. We now have a much better understanding of when that Tesla arrived at that final parking spot. I'll tell you, I do have surveillance from different houses in the neighborhood showing the Tesla being moved. So things like that, and I'm not even saying that LAPD didn't have that. I'm sure they did, but we wanted to make sure. And, and we did some work and on the up-resing the footage to find out who was driving the vehicle. And there are some other items that were found at the house that weren't taken during the search warrant, put her in this Tesla, and then maybe he thought he could get somebody to get rid of that car. And they were just like, no, I'm not doing it, and just got left there. But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her. And it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her, and how maybe that Tesla was just a holding spot at the time, and things just, their timing was just off as far as getting this done. But there's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind.
Up until that point, a lot of the people around David who may have been called in or been an interest to the police, they've been solid. They ain't been saying a word. But a grand jury testimony has started, and they're being required to come in and testify. And let's just say, man, they buckling under pressure. It looked like they folded. It looks like they scared. And it doesn't look good for David, right? Now, fortunately for us, right, we had people at the grand jury testimony. Well, not we personally, not the channel, but the public had people at the grand jury testimony outside, little spies recording and watching everything. And their account of some things that took place at the grand jury doesn't bode well for David. It looks like his team is worried, and it looks like the walls is closing in.
David is in the crosshairs as a suspect. Something happened outside the grand jury room in the hallway that seems to rope in
really focus on
music executives who may or may not know something connected to all of this.
In fact, the person who spent most of the day on Monday testifying before the grand jury is a guy who is the head of David's record label and the tour company that operates his most recent tour. His name is Robert Morgenroth Jr. And he, like I said, spent most of the day on Monday before the grand jury.
David about to learn a hard lesson about the music business, man. When these people need you, when you're some type of hot commodity for them, man, they will bend their knee and they will protect you and they will love on you. But when you become more trouble than you're worth, when you're putting them at risk, you about to learn very quickly how you really got no friends in this. You about to learn very quickly how that loyalty ain't there no more, man. Right? That's just my perspective. If David think these people are about to go to that grand jury and protect him, he's out of his mind, bro. If they have any information that can throw you under the bus and take the pressure off them, they're gonna give it. I knew the industry was flawed, bro. Ask Bobby Shmurda. Ask Bobby Shmurda what happened when he was the hottest artist on earth, right? They was doing whatever for him. He caught that case, man. The judge asked the label, hey, bro, can y'all take responsibility for Bobby Shmurda? Can y'all put up some guarantees that if Bobby Shmurda do this, y'all will lose? Man, they said, man, hell nah. Hell no, we're not vouching for no Bobby Shmurda, bro.
When he walked out of the grand jury, and this is what you're referring to, there was a conversation he had with his lawyer in a hallway.
Now let's explain this. This is a kind of wide hallway outside of the criminal courts building, and the hallway echoes. And there were about a half dozen people around, and he was talking loud enough that people heard it.
Right.
And what was said is really, really interesting.
Because he said that, said to his attorney, they were grilling me.
This is the prosecutor. Her name is Beth Silverman. She is a very seasoned prosecutor, very aggressive prosecutor.
And what he said to his lawyer in this hallway, again, loud enough for other people to hear, he said, she was grilling me about why I didn't call cops.
Why I didn't call cops. That is really, really interesting. Now, his response is also interesting.
Right. He said, I feel like I didn't have the responsibility to do that and just wanted to continue with the tour.
So $1 million question here is, what exactly was the activity that rose to the level of criminal activity that the prosecutors believe that he had a duty to report to the police. What is it? Is it maybe David had an inappropriate relationship with Celeste and that he was around it, being like David business person, that he was around it and he never called the police? Maybe that, or is it something more sinister, right? He hadn't seen Celeste for a while. He heard Celeste overdose, or he heard David murder Celeste, or he heard, Celeste's body was being hit. What is it? To me, that's important. And for David's sake, well, not for his sake, because I don't care what happened to David. F him, right? I hope he do life in prison over this. But if I was David, I should say, right? Because F him. But if I was David, boy, I'm sweating bullets if I let him. Bro, I'm sweating bullets if this man have any information in regards to Celeste's murder.
So let's kind of unpack this. Number one, we can't say what he was supposed to call cops about, according to the DA. This could have to do with anything except for one thing. It seems that the DA believed that there was some criminal conduct for which cops should be called.
Right.
That seems
Why else
obvious.
would the DA be asking that?
And what the case is about is the LAPD and apparently the DA believe that David may have been the culprit here in the death of Celeste
We know
Rivas.
that they are operating as calling him a suspect in her death.
That's right. And his answer to me sounds like someone who was either told some information or knew some information, formed a judgment that he wanted to continue with the tour rather than call police. It doesn't sound as if he was maybe sort of not in the know. It sounds as if he knew something,
Well, that's
either
what the-
told
that's
him,
what the
and
DA
that's why the DA was pushing on this
The other
issue.
thing we don't know here is exactly what tour he's referring to. But we do know that when the body was found in David's car, he was on tour, in the middle of a tour that even after the news of the body being found in his car, continued that tour for another week or so.
Now, to be fair, this gentleman was with David since 2022, and there have been 3 tours. So it could be a prior tour, except the prior tour doesn't really make sense because Celeste wasn't an issue until this tour.
What criminal activity was going on?
So what criminal activity was going on? But you connect the dots there.
And this dovetails with our understanding that he is considered a suspect. David is considered a suspect, and this now dovetails with the prosecutor grilling.
You're in front of a grand jury and you're asking
trying to get charges.
his tour manager about, obviously.
So it's a
they
big
feel that there's
no-no
some
to be
information.
overheard. I'm not sure it was intentional or ever. That hallway does echo. We've been in it many, many times. But
I don't know what else y'all gather from that, but what I gather from that dude is panicking. He got into, bro, they keep asking why I ain't called the police. That's a panicked, terrified person I heard from their description of exactly what happened. And if that person is terrified, and that's just, can you imagine what the others is probably thinking right now? Because, I even watched a Trapler Ross video recently where he's claiming, some of them done skip town, bro. They in Amsterdam somewhere right now, man. Y'all can't run forever, man. One of y'all, some of y'all, gonna get dealt with. All right? You might as well just turn that boy in, man. Right? Tell them folks what you know. Tell them everything, man. Y'all not guided by no street code. Bro, why you protecting him for?
it is taken very seriously when the grand jury proceedings are publicly available in this way.
And it just is interesting. It's like, why didn't you tell police? It means he said something or acknowledged something that triggered the DA to say that if you knew what you just said, why didn't you call the police? And
100%.
he's saying, not my responsibility. My job is to make sure the tour goes on. That's really interesting.
That boy needs to be worried, man. It looks like LAPD, they ain't solved Tupac murder. They ain't solved Biggie murder, man. All right, but it looks like LAPD is going to solve the murder of Celeste, man. All right. Congratulations, LAPD. Y'all finally did something right, all right? Y'all finally took y'all lazy buns, I should say, from off y'all couches and actually decided to be interested in justice for once, okay? Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this? Does this development mean anything to you guys? Let me know, okay? And if you're still watching this video and want to watch another good video, then click on this video right here, this video right here, or this video right here, somewhere on my screen, somewhere here, okay? to find out. Apparently, Cassie is running, hiding, dodging, and ducking after getting herself in some pretty serious legal trouble. All right, click on this video right here to find out what I'm talking about. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.